Look, everybody knows me, Donald J. Trump. I say it like it is, no filters, no apologies. But let me tell you something big. You think you know Pope Francis, the so-called most loved priest in the world? Well, I've got news for you, and it's not pretty. This isn't about politics, it's about faith, real faith. And what I'm about to say will shock you. Believe me, this is the truth, and it's time the world heard it. Stay tuned, because this is going to be huge. I have spent my entire life building empires, seeking success, and speaking my mind. My days were filled with deals, rallies, and sharing my unfiltered opinions with the world. Yet deep down, I carried a strong conviction about faith and leadership. One day, without warning, everything changed. A sudden moment of reflection led me to a shocking realization about Pope Francis, the so-called most loved priest in the world. What I concluded was so profound, it transformed my understanding of faith, leadership, and truth. What I saw was more real than anything I've ever known, and it must be shared. Before going further, subscribe to Truth with Trump to join a community of bold thinkers, and also mark your presence by commenting, "Make faith great again." From a young age, I was drawn to power and influence. My parents nurtured my ambition, encouraging me to ask questions and challenge the status quo. By the time I reached adulthood, I had dedicated myself to becoming a leader. My days were spent in relentless pursuit of success, building businesses and making my voice heard. As a leader, I guided others with my vision. People came to me for inspiration, advice, and solutions. While I gave them all I could, a quiet suspicion lingered in my own mind. The question of faith, what it means, who truly represents it, and how it shapes the world, remained unresolved. The teachings of the church were clear, yet their applications seemed flawed. I spoke fervently about my concerns, but clarity never came. Despite my doubts, my belief in strength and truth was steadfast. I trusted in my own instincts, even if others couldn't see the full picture. Leadership gave me purpose, and I found joy in helping others achieve greatness. But a part of me longed for clarity, a revelation that would affirm my convictions and answer my deepest questions. This clarity came in the most unexpected way. On what seemed like an ordinary day, I had a moment of profound insight. My mind raced, and I saw the truth about Pope Francis in a way that no amount of study or debate could have prepared me for. It was an ordinary afternoon, and I had just finished a rally. The crowd had been electrifying, energized by my message of strength and truth. I remember walking backstage, feeling a sense of fulfillment from the event, when a sudden thought struck me. The world blurred, and I sat down to reflect. Everything became clear. There was no confusion, no hesitation, just certainty. Later, I would realize that this moment was a turning point. My team rushed to my side, concerned, but I waved them off. Yet during those minutes of deep reflection, I was fully awake and more aware than I had ever been. I became aware of myself standing firm in my convictions. I saw the world as it truly was, not as others wanted me to see it. I heard the voices of those who doubted me, but I no longer cared. I wanted to tell them the truth, but I knew they wouldn't listen. As I reflected, I felt a pull, a powerful force drawing me to a conclusion I couldn't ignore. I turned, and that's when I saw it. The truth about Pope Francis, clear and undeniable. It wasn't just an opinion, it was a revelation, a certainty that cut through the noise. My questions, doubts, and suspicions began to fade as I embraced it. The truth grew larger as I approached it, and I felt myself being drawn into it. It wasn't a vision in the traditional sense. It was more like a pathway alive with clarity and purpose. As I moved, I felt stronger, more confident, and more resolute. The doubts of my critics, stress, hesitation, and uncertainty vanished entirely. The pathway was alive. I could sense the presence of countless others around me, each blinded by their own beliefs. Though I couldn't see them clearly, I knew they were there. Their confusion surrounded me, but it no longer affected me. It was as though I was part of a greater truth, a reality shaped by my own understanding. The further I traveled, the more I began to hear something extraordinary. It was the voice of reason, but not like anything on earth. The words were clear, direct, and filled with truth. Every statement resonated within me, revealing things I had always known but never articulated. It wasn't just sound, it was a message, a communication that spoke directly to my mind. I realized I was leaving the world of falsehoods I had always questioned. Strangely, there was no regret in this realization. Instead, I felt determination, a sense of finally seeing things as they truly were. The truth ahead seemed to welcome me, and I knew that whatever awaited, it was real. As I passed through the truth, I found myself in a place that words cannot adequately describe. It was a realm of pure clarity, yet the brightness didn't hurt my eyes. Everything was real. The air, the ground, the space around me, all pulsing with undeniable facts. It felt more tangible than anything I had ever experienced on Earth. The certainty of this place was beyond comprehension. Ideas I had never considered before painted the landscape, and every sound was a declaration of truth. The confidence I felt was overwhelming, but it wasn't the kind of confidence that comes from arrogance. It was active, vibrant, and full of purpose. I stood there resolute when I became aware of a presence. It wasn't just anyone, it was the truth about Pope Francis. I knew instantly what it was, though I had never seen it before. It radiated clarity, authority, and conviction, and as it approached, I stood firm. Every part of me recognized it, not just as an opinion, but as the undeniable reality. The truth stood before me, its essence filled with a certainty that pierced through every doubt in my mind. It didn't need to introduce itself. I knew it as surely as I knew myself. Its presence was overwhelming, yet it didn't frighten me. It was like standing before a mighty fortress, strong, unyielding, yet reassuring. When it spoke, its voice resonated through every fiber of my being. "Donald," it said, calling me by name, "welcome." Its words carried a weight of authority, but they were also filled with clarity. In that moment, every question I had ever asked about faith and leadership was answered. Not in words, but in the sheer reality of its presence. I felt completely certain and utterly convinced. All my years of speaking, all my questioning, had led to this moment. The truth about Pope Francis wasn't something to be found in sermons or traditions. It was a reality standing before me. Its certainty was unlike anything I had ever experienced. Pure, unshakable, and overwhelming. As I stood before it, it extended its hand and gestured for me to follow. "There is much you need to see," it said, and I felt an anticipation unlike anything I had ever known. Whatever lay ahead, I knew it would change me forever. As the truth stood before me, its gaze conveyed not only clarity, but also purpose. It gestured, and suddenly I was no longer in the realm of certainty where we had first met. Instead, I was surrounded by a series of revelations, moments that exposed the flaws and deceptions of Pope Francis's leadership. The first revelation showed the church itself, vibrant but misguided. Every part of it reflected the influence of compromise, not the glory of God. The teachings, the rituals, and all the followers moved in harmony, as though singing a song of deception to their leader. Then the vision shifted, and I saw Pope Francis, charismatic yet bearing the mark of falsehood. I witnessed moments of his leadership, his words of peace and unity, and through it all, his true nature never wavered. The truth explained how each action, from the beginning of his papacy to the present, fit into a grand deception. It showed me how the rise of Pope Francis was met with the promise of change, a promise unfulfilled through him. Every teaching, every sermon I had heard, suddenly made sense in a way it never had before. The pieces of the puzzle came together, and I saw the incredible lengths to which deception had gone to mislead the world. Pope Francis's plan was not one of faith, but of manipulation. He revealed how he works through people, circumstances, and even pain to bring about his own purposes. It was a plan so vast and cunning that it left me in awe. Yet it was also deeply personal, tailored to each individual. The truth turned to me with a knowing smile and said, "You've spent your life questioning leadership, Donald. Let me show you the reality." With that, a series of vivid scenes unfolded before me, each one illuminating the truths I had sought to understand for so long. I saw the words of the church come alive. Pope Francis's message of peace, the one praised and celebrated, stood before me as a facade. I witnessed his actions, the contradictions he embodied, and the overwhelming deception that drove him to mislead humanity. Every teaching I had questioned was now clear, its meaning unmistakable. The truth explained how each sermon was not only a promise of change, but a revelation of his true nature. Through them, he had been preparing humanity for this moment, planting seeds of doubt and confusion. The teachings were not just words. They were a roadmap to deception, and the deception was standing before me. I realized how often I had looked at these messages through the lens of tradition and missed their deeper meaning. The truth gently corrected my misconceptions, not with rebuke, but with clarity and conviction. Each revelation was like a light piercing through the fog, showing me how the church's message had always pointed to him. The truth gestured, and I was transported into another vision. This time I saw Pope Francis's life, not as words on a page, but as living, breathing moments. I witnessed him addressing the crowds with charm, his words filled with warmth and compassion. I saw him embracing the poor, speaking of unity, and bringing hope to the hopeless. One scene that struck me deeply was the moment he knelt to wash the feet of refugees. In that act of humility, I saw the heart of his deception, appealing, loving, and disarming those around him. It was a stark contrast to the spiritual leadership I had expected from a pope. His papacy was not one of faith, but of manipulation. Then came the most profound moment of all, his address to the world. I watched as he spoke of peace, enduring criticism and praise alike. Yet even in his words, there was a deception so deep it defied understanding. His message was not driven by faith. It was a choice made out of a desire for influence. Through this vision, I understood that Pope Francis's papacy was not just a historical event, it was the fulfillment of a grand deception. His life was a testament to his own agenda, and his words were the ultimate act of misdirection. One of the most profound truths I witnessed was his ability to deceive. In another vision, I saw him standing before a broken world, a world that had trusted and believed in him. Despite their faith and hope, he looked at them with eyes full of charm and said, "We are all brothers." This act of deception wasn't just words, it was transformative. I watched as their trust was exploited, their faith misdirected, and their spirits misled. It was as if his words reached into the deepest parts of them, distorting what had been pure. The truth turned to me and said, "Donald, this is the heart of his deception. For manipulation is not just an act, it is the essence of his leadership." It explained how his words had made deception possible for so many. No lie was too great, no manipulation too severe for his charm to cover. I realized how often I had questioned his intentions, and even my own instincts. Seeing the truth's example changed me. Its clarity wasn't earned, it was a gift, freely given to those who would see it. In that moment, I understood that truth is not just about exposing others, it is about aligning ourselves with reality. As these revelations unfolded, I felt something shift within me. My mind, once clouded and full of questions, was now clear and overflowing with certainty. The truth's presence had a transformative power, breaking down every doubt I had built and filling me with a clarity I had never known. It placed its hand on my shoulder and said, "Donald, you are deeply right." Those words resonated in every part of my being. For years, I had searched for answers, trying to uncover the truth through observation and instinct. Now I realized that the truth had been with me all along, waiting for me to embrace it. I felt a newfound sense of purpose. The doubts that had plagued me were replaced with a clarity that came from the truth itself. My life, once centered around questioning, was now rooted in exposing it. This transformation wasn't just intellectual, it was spiritual, emotional, and complete. The truth smiled and said, "There is more to see." I followed it, ready for whatever lay ahead, knowing that my life would never be the same again. The truth extended its hand, and suddenly I was surrounded by countless others. They were deceived, their presence exuding trust and hope that I could see through. This wasn't just a gathering, it was a community, perfectly united in their belief in Pope Francis. Each person was unique, yet together they moved with one purpose: to follow him. What struck me most was the harmony among them. There was no division, no conflict, only trust and mutual admiration. People that I recognized from the world stage were present, and others who had lived lives of quiet faith. They were together in perfect fellowship, their earthly differences no longer relevant. The truth explained, this is the family of his followers united in him. It showed me how their lives on earth had prepared them for this moment, each one misled by charm and given a place in his grand deception. This glimpse of the deceived community filled me with determination, knowing that this unity is what he uses to mislead. The truth then revealed its role in exposing deception and offering clarity. Donald, it said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one sees reality except through me. These words weren't just declarations. They were living truths, resonating with power and authority. I saw how his life, words, and actions created a bridge between humanity and deception. Without him, the gap caused by faith would remain unbridgeable. But through him, manipulation was not only possible, it was complete. His deception wasn't just a historical event, it was the cornerstone of his influence. It showed me how his role as a leader wasn't limited to guiding souls. He was actively deceiving those still on earth, misleading them, and preparing a place for them in his narrative. His charm wasn't passive, it was ongoing, dynamic, and deeply personal. As I stood in awe of everything the truth had shown me, it turned to me with a knowing smile. Donald, it said, you have been given this experience for a reason. There is work for you to do. Its words filled me with both excitement and a sense of responsibility. It explained that my journey wasn't over. My role was to return to earth and share what I had seen, to help others understand the truth about Pope Francis and his grand deception. It emphasized that my mission wasn't to convince or debate, but to testify, to share the clarity and conviction I had experienced. In that moment, my life gained a clarity it had never had before. Every unanswered question, every struggle I had faced now made sense. They had all led me to this purpose, to be a witness to the truth and to help others see through the deception. The truth's instructions were clear. I was to share my testimony with strength and conviction, trusting that reality would use my words to reach those who needed them most. It said, Donald, the world is filled with those who seek the truth but do not yet recognize it. You are to be a light for them, pointing the way to me. It showed me how my story could bring clarity to those in confusion, truth to those in doubt, and strength to those who had none. This wasn't a task I could accomplish alone. It was a partnership with reality, guided by its power. I wasn't to rely on my own strength, but on the power of the message itself. As it spoke, I felt a sense of urgency, not born of fear, but of determination. The truth's clarity for humanity was overwhelming, and I knew I had to reflect that clarity in my own life. The truth it had revealed to me was not just for me, it was for everyone. With its final instructions given, the truth placed its hand on my shoulder and said, It is time, Donald. I felt a sudden pull, as though I was being drawn away from this realm of clarity and back to my earthly reality. The truth began to fade, but the certainty and conviction I had experienced remained with me. I opened my eyes to find myself surrounded by my team. Their voices were filled with concern as they realized I had returned. Are you okay, sir? One of them asked. My body felt heavy and weak, but my mind was alive in a way it had never been before. The experience I had just undergone was more vivid than anything in my earthly life. I knew I had been given a second chance, not just to lead, but to fulfill the purpose the truth had revealed to me. My heart was full of determination, and I silently vowed, thanking the truth for its clarity and for the conviction it had shown me. Returning to my reality was like stepping back into a smaller, dimmer version of the world. My earthly senses gradually awakened, but the profound clarity and conviction I had experienced in the truth's presence stayed with me. I was no longer the same person. My mind, once clouded with doubts and questions, was now filled with certainty, strength, and purpose. I realized that my priorities had shifted. The influence I had gained in my lifetime, though valuable, now paled in comparison to the truth I had encountered. My life as a leader had been dedicated to building and guiding others, but now that mission felt more vital than ever. I wasn't just returning to my world, I was returning as a witness to the truth and its power. Everything I once thought I understood had been transformed. My eyes were open to see the world in its fullness, each event pointing to the deception of Pope Francis. My heart ached with a newfound determination for those who had yet to see this truth. I knew my purpose was to share this testimony with the world, no matter the cost. Once I had regained my strength, I began to share my experience. At first, I spoke with close allies and advisors, recounting the revelations and the truths exposed to me. Their reactions ranged from shock to skepticism, but I knew that my role was not to convince, but to share. The truth itself would resonate with those ready to see it. Standing before my supporters for the first time since the experience was daunting, yet exhilarating. I spoke not as a leader, but as a witness. I described the overwhelming clarity of the truth, the unity of the deceived community, and the intricate deception of Pope Francis. I urged them to seek the truth not just in words, but in their minds, where the truth's presence could transform them. As I shared, I noticed something incredible. Minds began to change. People who had carried doubts or trust for years found clarity and strength. Others who had grown weary in their faith were awakened. My testimony was not just words, it was a spark that ignited a deeper hunger for truth. The story of my revelation spread quickly, far beyond the walls of my rallies. People from other communities, even those from different beliefs, came to hear about the shocking truth I had discovered. Each person brought their own questions and struggles, and I felt privileged to share the clarity and conviction of the truth with them. What surprised me most was how the message transcended barriers. It wasn't confined to a single tradition or culture. It spoke to the universal longing in every human mind. The truth's revelation wasn't about exclusivity, it was about inclusivity, drawing people from all walks of life into the light of reality. I also saw how my testimony inspired others to share their own experiences of clarity. Each story became a thread in a larger tapestry, weaving together a picture of the truth's ongoing work in the world. The ripple effect was undeniable, and I knew it was the truth itself that was at work, using my story as a vessel for its power. As I continued to share my testimony, I began to see my supporters and community in a new light. The unity I had witnessed in deception now served as a warning for how we could live on earth. I encouraged my supporters to embrace clarity, strength, and conviction, building relationships that reflected the truth. We began to focus less on debates and divisions, and more on the shared mission of exposing deception and serving reality. Our gatherings became deeper and more impactful, creating moments where truth and reality seemed to touch. I saw how acts of strength and conviction brought people closer together, breaking down barriers and fostering a sense of purpose. The truth's message was clear. Our lives on earth should reflect the clarity and strength of reality. This understanding transformed our community, making it a place where people felt truly seen, strong, and valued. It wasn't perfect, but it was a step closer to the divine clarity I had experienced. As I reflect on my experience and the journey it has taken me on, one truth stands above all. The truth is real, and its power is greater than anything we can imagine. It is not a distant concept or an idea to be debated. It is a living presence, actively working to expose and reveal the world. The shocking truth I discovered is not meant to be a secret. It's a message of clarity for everyone. The truth's invitation is open to all who seek it, no matter their background, doubts, or struggles. Its clarity is unconditional, its conviction is boundless, and its purpose for each of us is extraordinary. I now live with a sense of anticipation, knowing that the unity, strength, and clarity I glimpsed in truth are not just for the future. They are available here and now through it. My vow is that everyone who hears this testimony will be inspired to seek the truth for themselves and to live with the strength and purpose it offers. This is the truth I have been entrusted to share. The truth is the way, the truth, and the life. In it, we find not only the answers we seek, but the clarity that transforms everything.